In this video, we're going to learn how to write equations of lines given certain information. The first type, the easiest, is if they give us a slope and a y-intercept. You should remember that the slope is represented by the letter m in our formulas and the y-intercept is represented by the letter b. Then the second part, where it's a little bit harder, we're going to find the equation of the line if we're given a slope and a point. First, let's start out looking at some formulas. You're going to have to write your answers in slope-intercept form, if possible, and that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And then, when we get to the second part, where they're going to give you the slope and a point, you're going to need to know the point-slope formula. But let's just start with the easy stuff. In example 1, they're giving us m is 2/5 and the y-intercept is -5. Now remember that y-intercept, we use that letter b. And so if we take our formula y equals mx plus b, all you have to do is fill in m and b. So we would have y equals 2/5 times x, and since b is negative, we could say plus a negative, but that looks kind of ugly, so we just say -5. And that's all there is to it. Don't make it any harder. So what if we have a slope of 0 and b is -1/2? Well, we have y equals mx plus b. Y equals 0 times x plus that -1/2. Well, 0 times anything is 0. And then that plus a minus, again we're going to make that a little prettier, is -1/2. Now this is very important. Look at what happened. When our slope is 0, and hopefully you remember what kind of lines have a 0 slope? Horizontal. A horizontal line has an equation of only with a y. We could have just written down the answer of y equals -1/2 instead of going through that formula. But we'll practice that a bit more. Now let's look at the harder part. They're going to give us a slope and a point. And so we can't just use y equals mx plus b because we don't have b. And so we're going to look at this other formula called the point-slope formula. We have a point, we have a slope, point-slope formula. All right, so our point is an ordered pair, x1 and y1. And then, of course, our slope is m. Now notice y and x, those are our variables. They don't have a subscript. They don't have that little number by them to help you remember that that just remains a variable. So we would have y minus 1 equals m parenthesis times x minus that -2. But we want to write our answers in that slope-intercept form. So we want our answer to look like y equals mx plus b. In other words, we need to solve for y. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute that 5, and then I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So there's our answer in slope-intercept form. This one's going to be a little bit tougher because of the fraction. But remember, this is x1 and that's y1. So we have y minus a -2 equals our slope times x minus a -4. Let's clean up those double negatives. So we have plus 2 equals -3/5 times x plus 4. Now you've done a great job. We're done there. We just have to get our answer in y equals mx plus b form. And that's where some people have some trouble with fractions. So you have a choice. We could just distribute that fraction and then subtract the 2, and we'd have to find a common denominator. But that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those fractions. And I'm going to do that by multiplying by the denominator of 5. So I'm going to multiply by 5 on that side, which means I have to multiply by 5 on this side. Now, even this method, you have to be a little bit careful. So we're going to distribute the 5. So we have 5y plus 10. But here, those 5's cancel out, and you want to distribute the -3. So one more time, the 5's cancel out, and you want to distribute the -3. You're going to subtract 10 from both sides, and then divide by 5. So there's my answer in slope-intercept form. Notice my slope is -3/5, which is what I started out with. Those should match. If they don't, it means there's a slight mistake somewhere. Let's just go through one more example of given a point and a slope. Let's just practice that fraction again. So we have this formula. We're going to fill in our point and our slope, and I'm going to take that negative and negative and make it positive. And at this point I'm going to choose to get rid of my fraction. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. I'm going to distribute my 3, and here I'm going to cancel out that 3 and distribute that numerator of 2. Subtract 3 and then divide by 3. A lot of 3's. I really think learning to get rid of the fractions within an equation is a very useful skill and really kind of easy. You just have to make sure that you're going to distribute here, going to cancel out here, and distribute that numerator. We're going to be talking about vertical and horizontal lines. You're just going to need to do some memorization. A horizontal equation is always y equals to a number and the slope is 0. Vertical is x is equal to a number and your slope is undefined. So on number 5, when your slope is 0, you should know that this is a horizontal line. Now you could go through the point slope formula, but I want you to just skip to the point where it's horizontal, so I know it's y equals to, now what number? Well, what number am I talking about? Well, let's look at this ordered pair. Here's x, here's y. Y is equal to 3. That's it. Now yes, you could have gone through this formula and you're going to end up in the same place, but this is much faster, much easier, but you do have to memorize. Let's look at this other example. M is undefined. That tells you it's a vertical line. And if it's a vertical line, it's x equals, well again, x equals to what? X equals to -2. Could do another one. What if M is 0 and it goes to the point 3, 5? This tells you it's a horizontal line, so it's y equals to 5. If I tell you M is undefined, it goes to the point 3, 6. This tells you it's vertical, so it's x equals to 3. Just a little bit of memorization will save you a lot of time.